From under the Golden Dome in Charleston, this is the West Virginia Capitol Report.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Capitol Report. I'm Bill Laird along with co-host Dave Perry, and we have a great show lined up today. Again, a guest, Dave, been a friend of ours for so many years, the longest serving treasurer in the history of the state of West Virginia, the Honorable John Purdue, currently seeking his 7th term as treasurer of the state of West Virginia. And Mr. Treasurer, welcome to the Capitol Report show.
Well, it's great to be here with two good friends, but the most important part is Merry Christmas, and Merry Christmas to all the viewers out there. It's been a great year.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And again, sticking with that Christmas theme, you know, it's the time of year where folks are kind of looking for gifts, either online or in retail stores throughout the state of West Virginia. A lot of parents and grandparents thinking, hey, you know, it's time for me to take care of the kids or the grandkids. You wouldn't normally think of the state treasurer's office as being the source of Christmas shopping by any means, but hey, this is the time of year that you can give a very important gift to a young person. Won't you tell us what a gift suggestion from the state treasurer might be?
Well, you know, this is the time of the year to give a great gift, a great stocking stuffer, I call it, a Smart 529 gift card. The best gift you'll ever give for a lifetime, and you don't have to worry about it ending up in a yard sale, Dave. I mean,
right.
and that's very important. And the point is that you can just easily go to smart529.com, go online, and order that gift card, put it in that stocking stuffer. And we got quite a few Target stores in West Virginia that you can buy that gift card from, and so this is one of the best gifts you're going to ever give that will change a kid's life or a grandchild's life. And you're never too late to start saving for that college education or techno school, being able to go on to techno school. It's so much you can use that money for, and as long as it's used for educational purposes, you never have to pay any taxes on that money, even the earnings. And as long as it's used for educational purpose, federal or state, and it's and you get a tax deduction on your state income tax in West Virginia to invest in your children and grandchildren's education. So you're getting a gift too. So it's one of the best things West Virginia's ever put forward. It's a $2.6 billion program and continue to grow. Over 40,000 West Virginians in that program. And it's something that we're very proud of here in the Treasurer's Office. And I encourage the viewers out there, take advantage of that, buy that stocking stuffer and put that gift card in it and change a child's life.
Golly, that's a pretty good pitch job there, Mr. Treasurer. And again, if we could, you know, the importance of a college education to the life of a child. Again, you're a West Virginian, native of Boone County. You know, a higher educational opportunity certainly was a life-changing event for you, me, Dave. A lot of people, you know, life gets rolling in the right direction when you invest in higher education.
Well, absolutely, Bill. I'm telling you right now, education changed my life and opened up the doors of opportunity for me beyond my expectations. I never dreamed I'd ever be the treasurer of the state or I'd work for a governor. But the most important thing is I took that step and went on to higher education. And, you know, coming from Dog Fork Hollow, I tell people that I've never been ashamed to say I'm from Boone County, Dog Fork Hollow. That's what changed my life and opened up those opportunities for me, is being able to go on to higher education. And when I became treasurer, I said, you know, we need to start a program that will help change kids' lives and help parents realize that they can get something out of it as well. And that's why we started the Smart 529 College Savings Program. And it's made a big difference in West Virginia. We got kids now using this program to go on to higher education, not only to higher education, a college or university, but techno school to be able to become a truck driver or a welder or whatever they might want to be, and it can change their lives too. Plumber, I just had to get a plumber a few months ago, and trust me, they make pretty good money. And, and if they're well trained, they can make money. And so that is very important, and that's what this program does. And I believe it's one of the best programs and a cornerstone of economic development in the state of West Virginia.
I think you're spot on with that, and a lot of flexibility with this this program too. I guess you know, it's what, for example, if I were to buy a gift card, what increment, you know, I'm sure there's, can I put 25, 50 bucks on a gift card?
Absolutely, you can put 25, 50, $100, whatever you want to put on that gift card to be able to help start that college fund. And it's a dollar tax deduction on your state income tax. The flexibility of that program to be able to move it from child to child or grandchild to grandchild, it's one of the best programs in the country. I tell people all the time, if you can find a program to invest in for your children and grandchildren's education that gives you a tax break on your state income tax, and also you never have to pay any federal taxes or any taxes on the earnings, long as it's used for educational purposes, I don't think you can buy a program like that anywhere else except in another state. But we offer a lot of flexibility for the program here in West Virginia, and we're very proud of that.
Again, you folks looking for a good Christmas suggestion, take it from State Treasurer John Purdue, the gift card available through the Smart 529. Boy, what a great gift idea.
John, I may be out in left field on this, but we talk about West Virginians on the 529. Are people out of state eligible to participate?
Oh, that's a good point, Dave. You can go anywhere. They can participate. We'll sell the program. But the most important thing is your grandchild or child can go anywhere in the world to school, anywhere in the United States to school. I get to ask that question. If my child gets a scholarship somewhere else, can they go out of state? Yeah, absolutely. We want them to stay in state.
Right.
That's what we offer.
Right.
We want to promote our own universities and colleges and technical schools. But that's the flexibility of this program. Very flexible and be able to do that. And grandparents out of state all the time is putting money in the program for their grandchildren back here in West Virginia. And you know, that's great. That's icing on the cake for us and icing on the cake for those kids.
Certainly, certainly.
And you know, I guess, you know, a lot of attention and discussion recently about, you know, the burdens of student loan debt. And boy, when you go through a 4-year baccalaureate program or maybe even on to professional school, you come out of school and boom, there at those student loan debt, it's just very, very difficult to get a good toehold and a start in life when you have that, you're dragging that student debt behind you.
Well, absolutely. You know, that's a big problem all over the country. It's billions of dollars, and yeah, even in West Virginia, it's billions of dollars of student loans out there. And unfortunately, our kids are coming out of higher education, coming out with their first foot in the grave of bankruptcy, and then they're struggling right off the bat to find that first job, to be able to start paying that student loan off, be able to start their life out. And we have to address that. And I think that's important to be able to address that. And we're always trying to address that and educate kids back in high school and middle school, the importance through our Get a Life program, financial education, financial literacy, so they don't fall into those traps when they graduate from high school and go on to college, and they don't get in that credit card debt, and they don't take that big student loan out that they think, oh, they're going to give me this amount of money, I'll take it. And then all of a sudden they realize when they graduate, I got to start paying that back. And we got to address that and educate our kids back younger so they realize what their parents are doing to balance a budget and to be able to pay those bills and be able to pay for their education. And we're doing a good job of that too, and that's very important to be part of that. Part of the Smart 529 plan, a lot of people don't realize this, is now kindergarten through the 12th grade in private schools, in Christian schools, you can use that money because you're paying. You can start a 529 plan and use that money to help pay that tuition at in that private school or Christian school to be able and getting them started, because a lot of them go on to higher education too, not only here in the state but out of state, and that's starting to make a difference too. So we're very flexible. That's another part of the building the house, so to speak, in the 529 plan, putting another window in the house for opportunity for people to be able to save and address those problems.
Yeah.
John, you talked about education and how education has changed your life and opened doors for you. Of course, your office and yourself are very committed to education. As you said earlier, there are a lot of educational programs that come out of the Treasurer's office. Why don't you explain some of those and relate some of those for our listening audience?
Well, you know, we also have a good program called the 457 program, where we address out here for county, city, municipality employees, because what has happened in state employees, what is happening over the years is most of those people are starting to realize they can't live on that retirement they're going to get from the county or the city or the state any longer. And it's a supplemental retirement plan like a 401k out in the private sector where they can invest in that 457, defer that money later on, put a little icing on the cake that they're baking for that retirement for themselves to be able to address some of those problems. And we've grown that program in the state since we've taken it over from about 20-some million to about $200-some million that we've grown that, and we continue to grow that. And that's an educational purpose too, because a lot of people don't realize when they're working, well, I don't need to address that right now. I'm going to work for another 20 years or so. Well, that 20 years will pass pretty quickly, just
Absolutely.
like those kids go to college pretty quickly, too, at 18. And so we're starting to address that, and more and more of our state and county and city employees are starting to invest in that program, and it's another great program in the Treasurer's office that we deal with.
Who is eligible for that program, 457? Is that government employees only, or teachers, or?
All the teachers, government employees, the different ones. Teachers have a 457, but they can be in our 457 too. We try to get everybody that we can, city, county, municipality employees, invested in that program, especially state employees, highway people. We're out there addressing those in the counties and so forth, all the county offices. If you really start thinking about it in your own county, there's all kinds of state, county, and city municipality offices. And addressing that, we're starting to really pick up, and people are starting to realize, maybe I better get in this and put a little icing on that cake. And that's very, very important to the state, because that's very important to their financial savings in their retirement, to be able to say, I've got this covered.
You know, you made brief reference to another educational program, the Get a Life program. And again, we live in an age, I was in a waiting room in a doctor's office the other day, and everybody had their phones out, and we sort of live in a world where thumbs take care of about everything. But the whole thing of educating at a very young age, I guess I would call it financial literacy. If you could tell us a little bit about some of the efforts by your office to get out into our public school system and try to impress upon young people, you aren't born knowing how to balance a budget or have any sense really of what your parents have to try to do to maintain a household.
Well, absolutely. Bill, the Get a Life program is one of the best things we've ever done in the Treasurer's office. I hear more from parents out here, especially single parents, about the Get a Life program, because their child comes home and starts talking about, you can't believe what I did today, Mom and Dad, and starts telling them about it. And I didn't know you were paying that much for this cell phone I have, and you well know all these kids, like you say, have these cell phones anymore. And I didn't know you paid that much for my tennis shoes and how much it cost me to clothe me and the food, and what you was paying in a house payment and what you was paying in a car payment. And then when the car broke down, I just assumed somehow you had the money to make that, fix that. And I found out you had to save for that, and you had to budget for that. The house starts leaking, the roof's got to be fixed. It's been a hands-on game, and kids love hands-on games, and students love it. And we are doing it now in 130-some schools in the state. We help work with the teachers to train them with the lesson plans and so forth, and get them ready to do the game. We work with businesses out in the community to come, and we set up in a gymnasium and they have to go around and we give them a job. This is your job. If you graduate from high school, you're going to be this, and this is what you're going to make. And then they go around and they go and have to buy the house or rent a house. They have to buy a car. They have to go and buy groceries for the house. They have to pay the utility bills, do all that thing. 95% of them go broke the first time around. They just go broke and go bankrupt. And then we have an educational table where they have to go over that table, and we say, now, if you go to technical education, and we call it the 529 table, of course, and if you go to college or you go to community college and you help change that and you come out with a different degree, associate degree, a college degree, or a trucking certificate or a drone certificate or whatever it might be, and now this is what you're going to make in the workforce. And they go, wow.
Yeah.
And then they go around again and balance their budget, and most of them balance that budget the second time around. And it's a great game. They go home, they start talking to the parents about it, and then they see the results. It is a fantastic called Get a Life, financial literacy we do in the treasurer's office. And I really learned about this from my own kids when they went to college. And it's like all kids who got out of high school, one of the first things they got was a credit card. And I'll never forget, one of my daughters called me up and said, Daddy. I knew when they said daddy, you guys know that means money.
That's right.
And Dad, they had this credit card, and they was 18, and then Dad didn't have to prove anything anymore,
That's
Mom.
right.
And so all of a sudden I'm going to try to take care of that credit card, and I cut it up in front of one of my daughters and said, don't ever do that again.
Yep.
And if you need money, you call me. We're going to get an education. That's the first thing. But that's what the Get a Life program is about. We don't want our kids coming out of high school falling into these traps and getting their first foot in the grave of bankruptcy.
Of course, John, I understand the Get a Life program is primarily for middle school programmatic levels, and that you're looking to the future to perhaps introduce it at the high school level.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're looking at a new program that will go even further in investments and IRAs and different things like that that's out there to work with banks and so forth. We're developing a new program in hopefully in junior and senior year that we can get into the high school system and really give them a refreshing course.
Right.
And give them a little bit more of a picture of what they're walking into when they graduate from high school. And I think it's going to be a great program too. We're already getting calls because people are hearing about it, and we haven't quite got it all put together, and we're going to have it put together, and I think it will change a lot of lives too.
Okay, well, gentlemen, we're going to need to take a quick break, and if you could stay with us, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about unclaimed property.
I'd love to talk about that. You know that?
Yeah, I know that, and some other core functions of the State Treasurer's Office. Again, joining us today, the Treasurer of the great state of West Virginia, the Honorable John Purdue. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and Dave and I will be right back with our guests. So stay with us, everybody.
Stay tuned. The West Virginia Capital Report will be right back. The West Virginia Capital Report is brought to you by the AFL-CIO of West Virginia, Cucumber & Company, online at cucumberandcompany.com, and Mark Hunt & Associates, toll free at 800-554-1280. From under the Golden Dome in Charleston, this is the West Virginia Capital Report.
Welcome back to the Capital Report as we continue our discussion with John Purdue, Treasurer of the state of West Virginia. And Mr. Treasurer, again, I guess every office has kind of a marquee program or a core function, and I know what outstanding work the Office of the State Treasurer has done in the area of unclaimed property, actually returning to the taxpayers throughout the state of West Virginia money that doesn't belong to the state. It's held by the state, by your office, and rather than burying that in the backyard or sticking it in a piggy bank, your office makes a concerted effort to try to return those dollars to taxpayers. If you could maybe share with our viewers, what what's involved in terms of that part of your operation?
Well, unclaimed property is one of the best programs since I've been treasurer that I've been associated with. When I became treasurer, I found $100 million in unclaimed property. That was the people's money in the treasurer's office. And I soon realized that we needed to market that, get out there and let people know that they might have unclaimed property. And we started doing that. I can remember on day when we first started going to fairs and festivals, we'd try to get people to look for unclaimed property on their computers and stuff, and they thought we was the tax collectors. I hate not picking on the tax department. And they go, no, I pay all my taxes, and they leave and so forth. And then we started educating them, and now it's one of the most popular programs in the state of West Virginia. We returned over $200 million to the people of this great state. Not only the people of this great state, but churches, businesses, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H clubs, you name it, we find unclaimed property. It comes to the treasurer's office, and we go out there and do a tremendous effort with our people out there in the field, finding those individuals. And it gets bigger and bigger every year. With life insurance policies as part of that, CDs that come up missing, and the checking accounts. You'll be surprised how much money comes into the Treasury every month in unclaimed property. And we return about $15–16 million a year in unclaimed property to individuals, and it continues to grow. And it's just rewarding to find those people that money. And I'll just give you a good example. I was in Marion County, I'm not going to say where, and I found we had found unclaimed property for this lady and went to the house. And this lady, I'll never forget this as long as I live, she was crying, she started crying and everything. She had no idea that she had, $15,000 or something like that it was, and her house was leaking, and she had to get a new roof put on it and everything. And she just said, Lord, thank you. And I see that all the time as I travel the state, how many people really appreciate unclaimed property. And you don't realize how much our loved ones that we think we have settled their estates and so forth lose money and misplace it, and the kids don't know anything about it. And it's rewarding to be able to go back out there and try to find that money for the rightful owners of the state. The people's money, not tax dollars, the people's money.
John, of course, your office has always been interested in efficiencies and effectiveness and technology and how you can do to improve things. Some of the unclaimed property process may be a little cumbersome, but I understand you've set forth the effort now to improve the efficiency in that as well.
Oh, absolutely. We have become very transparent in the treasurer's office. I get criticized for that some, but you can go to the treasurer's office, any cash management, any account banking or whatever, and find out what's going on in state government. I'm very proud to say, as treasurer of this great state, I have never lost one penny of the taxpayers' dollars in this state. And we're very proud of the professional staff I have and what we put together. But now we're bringing into the 21st century, so to speak, unclaimed property, modernizing that a lot better, making more transparency, making it a lot easier for our citizens, and not only our citizens, but all over the country. You'd be surprised how many West Virginians live outside of West Virginia now and find unclaimed property that was theirs in our state. And we're modernizing that, making it a lot easier and transparent to be able to return more and more of that unclaimed property in the state.
Mr. Treasurer, again, our time's kind of running out, but sticking with the topic of efficiency, one thing that people may not think of, but as a result of the efforts of your office, been a tremendous reduction in the number of actual checks, written hard copy checks by the state of West Virginia. And I always think of the treasurer as kind of the banker for the state, but you all have managed to develop through new technologies, electronic transfers, those types of things. We don't issue checks anymore.
Now we're getting out of the check writing business, Bill. We used to do about 4.5 million of those a year when I first became treasurer. Now we're down to hardly none. And the auditor and I have worked very closely together to be able to do that with technology and bring transparency to that, to be able to get out of the check writing business, save the state a lot of money, because it used to cost about $50 to write those checks. People go, $50? Well, by the time it goes out and goes back through all the system, and I got a warehouse full of them, as you all well know, here in the capital city, where old checks where we had to keep that. We modernized that, and so that is very important, and it's good to have a good partner like the auditor to make sure that happens. But the most important thing is we're saving the taxpayers of this state a tremendous amount of money.
The West Virginia Capital Report is brought to you by the AFL-CIO of West Virginia, Cucumber and Company, online at cucumberandcompany.com, and Mark Hunt and Associates, toll free at 800-554-1280.
Back to the Capitol Report as we close out today's program. And Dave, John Purdue, boy, we've known and worked with him for a number of years, very dedicated to the programs in that office. And boy, he pitched that 529 gift card, very important if you're this time of year looking for a good gift. You can't beat investing in the future education of a child.
He definitely is very excited about it and very personalized with it. So it was interesting to hear him push the 529 for those Christmas presents out there this time of the year.
No doubt about it. So again, appreciate Treasurer Purdue joining us today on the Capitol Report. On behalf of co-host Dave Perry, again, like to thank our viewers for tuning us in each week on the West Virginia Capitol Report. Again, happy holidays to all our viewers. Have a good week, and goodbye, everybody.
This has been the West Virginia Capital Report.